To the United stand, this is our Manchester United transfer news latest, and I hope you're all doing very, very well. Manchester United apparently going to bid £100 million for Jadon Sancho. We'll be talking about that. We'll also be talking about a player that's been spoken about quite a lot in the live comments over the last few weeks, and I've buckled down to the pressure to talk about him. Joao Felix from Benfica, we will be talking about him, and also a potentially massive striker swap in the summer that is in the UK press this morning. So lots and lots to talk about. Hope you're all doing very, very well. Obviously, from a Manchester United point of view, brilliant result last night. We'll be getting a little bit more into that on the Sunday night show at 8 o'clock tonight. Probably going to be joined with either Flex or Rants for that. But look, let's start off with the transfer news. Jadon Sancho, I think, obviously I was at the game yesterday. Enjoyed it, thoroughly enjoyed it. Look, I'm not going to be elitist about it. The reality is, when you go to a football game, you do see things that the TV doesn't show you because you can move your eyes and follow a certain player. And I think looking at United yesterday, I think under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, without question, we've got passion, fight back ability. That's one of my new words. In buckets. But there are positions in that team that, ultimately, I thought there was 2 or 3 players yesterday who didn't play particularly well. I think McTominay, that position, obviously, he's doing his best, but I think we need to improve there in the summer. And Dembele's been mentioned. I think Ashley Young's been consistently bad for a while now. Maybe pull Dalot in there and buy Wan-Bissaka as a backup, I don't know. We'll let them fight it out. We know we need a centre-back. I think Chris Smalling had a good game yesterday, but you want better than good. You want elite, and I think Koulibaly can solve that problem. And whilst yesterday we didn't really play with a 4-3-3, we sort of did the diamond 4-2 up front. But I think Solskjaer does like the 4-3-3. I think he does like the box-to-box of Pereira, the Matic patroller, and the Pogba in the more advanced position with Martial to the left, Rashford up front, and then the right side player. Well, it's not really Lingard's position. And I think that's where Jadon Sancho comes in. £100 million, as far as I'm concerned, would be very, very cheap. Very, very cheap indeed. If you want to play Football Index, the link is in the video description. I'll be showing you that in a moment, and that really reflects the value of Jadon Sancho worldwide. I personally think people like Real Madrid and Barcelona will be looking at this kid. 18 years of age, formerly at Manchester City. They let him go, or he forced his way out because he wanted first team football. I applaud the guy for that, the kid for that. I really do, because there's a lot of young players that we hear about. Oh, they're brilliant. Hudson Odoi, Loftus-Cheek, Phil Foden, and even at United, Heath Chong and this like that. And are they getting game time? No, they're not. Jadon Sancho's younger than some of those players, and he decided, no, I'm not staying at Man City. Yeah, I can get a big wage, but I'm off to develop my career. Goes to Dortmund, and he's now one of the best players in the world. So I applaud him for that. But actually, Chirag Bush says post-match preview of yesterday's game. How do you do a post-match preview? I think you mean post-match review of yesterday's game. I was at the game. Click the eye in the top right-hand corner. We've got a player rating show and my match reaction to that. So if you've missed it, there you go. So Jadon Sancho, £100 million. I think it's about right. Plays off the right-hand side. Can use both feet, but I think he works better off the right-hand side. If you look at what he's doing for Dortmund, and Dortmund are top of the Bundesliga at the moment. Champions League game against Spurs on Tuesday night. I'll be doing that on That's Football. They're 3-0 down, so maybe a Jadon Sancho master show coming in that. But he's played 37 games. He's got 9 goals. He's got 11 assists. He's one of the best players out there. He is English. He's got a good relationship with people like Lingard and Rashford. If you're not up to date with if you're not down with the modern footballers and how they work, so, you've got your Jesse Lingard, your Marcus Rashfords. I don't know what word I would use those, but they're definitely down with the kids when it comes to football. They're probably all over Match magazine or whatever it is you get when you're like 14, 15. That's what I used to get. And engage with the youth, commerciality, brand awareness, and I think Jadon Sancho would fit perfectly with those sort of players that we've got at Manchester United, and whether you like that or not. Also, fantastic young player in a team that is very young. United's team's very young. Pogba, probably the most experienced player in the team, around his mid-20s. I don't think Lindelof's mid-20s yet. Luke Shaw certainly isn't. David De Gea is relatively young for a goalkeeper. I mean, Matic will be moved on. Herrera is quite experienced, but the front three of Martial and Lingard and Rashford is very young. I mean, Lingard's mid-20s, isn't he? But he acts like he's 20. So, perfect signing for United. And I would be happy with £100 million. I don't know what you lot would think. I think that £100 million for Jadon Sancho, I would do it. And I think Dortmund would do it as well. It's whether he wants to come back to England or whether he's thinking, I could go to Barcelona or Real Madrid here. So that's going to be the interesting thing with Sancho. But this was in the Mirror this morning. Do you want to take the mirror as gospel? You'd be stupid. You'd be absolutely stupid, especially if you're looking in a mirror and you're talking to yourself, because you can tell yourself anything you want. But this is the Mirror newspaper. I mean, credibility-wise, I mean, they said Anthony Martial was a waste of money, but it's not just the Mirror. We're hearing it more and more about Sancho and Manchester United, and I think it is quite interesting. It feels to me like it's too early for him to leave Dortmund, because I think he's only been there a year and a half, 2 years max. I'm trying to think when he went there. But this is his first full season, I think, at Dortmund. And it feels a bit soon for him to go. But it depends, you know. I think if he comes back to Manchester, to United for £100 million, he would be an example of, for these young players, how to sort your career out. Because he could still be at Man City, and I guarantee he'd only have 2-3 appearances. In that 2 years, he's gone and made himself one of the best players in Europe, and then he comes back into the Premier League and does what he wanted to do in the first place. Fantastic. Andrew Ellis says Lozano over Sancho, and Zaini Darusi says Sancho for number 7. Well, the number 7 conversation we'll be having tonight on the 8 o'clock show, but Sanchez is finished at Manchester United, absolutely finished, and that's the good thing about watching it live. I actually followed Sanchez while he was playing yesterday instead of the ball at times, and you can still see that he's a good player, but the real reason Sanchez has flopped at Manchester United is because we scouted him terribly bad. A lot of Arsenal fans will say this about Sanchez, that in the last few months he was off form, he looked like he was on the decline. He is on the decline. He was on the decline. He's lost a yard of pace. Even that poke through to him where people saying should it have been a penalty yesterday, where Pogba pokes it through. A sharp striker would have been onto that before the keeper. He hasn't got the pace over 5 yards that he used to have. And we're seeing it with Mata now. And when you lose it, you become exposed as a footballer. That's the problem with Sanchez. How do you offload a player like that? I mean, he might have a bad knee injury now, in which case we're going to be stuck with him next season, which is the worst case scenario. But this is the future. This is the sort of signing we need to be looking at. Lozano is very, very good, but I'm not convinced that... I think Lozano will end up at Barcelona or Real Madrid, if I'm totally honest with you. Sanchez swoop, says Sunderland 83. I've heard a few people talking about that, and I do not believe that Jadon Sancho... I don't think Dortmund are stupid, is what I'm trying to say. I don't think that they would be looking to move him on at all. I think they would... Sorry about that. There was something in the other room I need to sort out. I don't think that they would do that, and I think that Israk Lasky is probably right. Sanchez to China. Right, we're going to talk about this potential swap deal, because I think this is going to create some debate. So please do smash a like on the video, subscribe if you're new and all that jazz. Oh, actually, just before I do that, let me just go to the Football Index page so I can just show you this about Jadon Sancho. Just if you don't believe me, right? This is the top 200 players at the moment. So Jadon Sancho is... Football Index, if you don't know what it is, the link's in the video description. You've got to be over 18 to play it, and do gamble responsibly. But basically, you can buy shares in real-life footballers, and you can watch their price go up and down. So unlike a traditional bet where you put a £10 bet on, and if you lose your tenner, you can buy shares in these players. And if I show you my portfolio here... Look, even the players I've lost money on, like Alexis Sanchez, I bought 5 shares at $5.17 and he's dropped to $3.85. So I've lost about £6.60 altogether. But I mean, look, I'm in profit of nearly 200 quid, and I've only been doing this for 2 months. Some of my better players I've bought were... Where is it? Where's my best one? Marcus Rashford. 78 quid I made on him. I bought him at $4.65 a share. He's now up to $12.46 a share. But $12.46 a share for Marcus Rashford. If you look at Jadon Sancho, he is trading at over £15 a share, and he's playing in Dortmund. I mean, the way the price goes up is on performance on the pitch and on news stories around transfers, etc. So he's blinging it on both at the moment. But £15 a share, he's more expensive than Eden Hazard, and you'd say Eden Hazard's probably a better player. Look, I really enjoy playing the Football Index. The link's in the video description. I'll come back to that in a little bit, but I just wanted to show you, look, Jadon Sancho is considered, it's not just United fans buying those shares. He is a top talent, and if we got him at Manchester United, I'd be very, very excited. Right, let's talk about this. This was in the Express this morning. It's something I've mentioned, and again, I wouldn't take the Express as being credible, far from it, but it is something I've mentioned, and there is a chain of events that it's not too far-fetched. Basically, they're saying there's a realistic chance that Manchester United will be offered a swap deal with Lukaku and Icardi in the summer. Now, would you take that swap deal is the interesting point, first of all. For me, it's a yes, which I'll explain at the moment. Icardi is going to leave Inter Milan. There's been massive issues there over the last few weeks. He's been stripped of the captaincy. There's no contract renewal. He will be moving on. So when he moves on, Inter Milan will need a replacement. That's a fact. Now, I've been told that Icardi probably is going to go to Juventus, so let's see what happens with that. Would I take Icardi at Manchester United? I'd be a bloody hypocrite if I didn't, because I've been speaking about him for probably ever since the United stand started, saying I'd love Icardi at Manchester United. Not only is he a goal scorer like Lukaku in the penalty box, but he actually does have ability to hold the ball up and bring others into it. Much more agile, I think, and much more tenacious than Lukaku. Like in the fact that he's a bit like Tevez. He hunts the ball down, aggressive, and I think United would benefit from a player who can actually play football as well. So I would do the Icardi for Lukaku swap. We'll be talking more about Lukaku tonight at 8 o'clock because I think he's been fantastic for us, but what I would say is, at Old Trafford yesterday, outside of the box, Lukaku had a lot of balls into his feet, and the groaning was deafening at Old Trafford because he's got no ability to hold the ball up or pass the ball. He's brilliant in and around the box, but I think you need more than that if you want to go for a title. So I would do it. Also, I believe that Jose Mourinho may well be Inter Milan manager next summer. So if that happens, and Icardi is going to leave, and he needs a top-class striker, there's not loads of top-class strikers out there, and there's no doubting Lukaku is a top-class striker. He can score 30 goals a season for you. So if you play to his strengths, I just don't think he suits the way Oli wants to play, really. So maybe that looks like it. And I really wanted to just throw it into the live comments and see, would you do it? Icardi for Lukaku? Because I would do it for the reasons I've just said there. I think in Icardi, you're getting a more complete footballer who not only can score goals in the penalty box, but actually can do things out the penalty box, unlike Lukaku, who looks like he's doing the bird box challenge outside the box and he's got his old blindfold on. So I would do it. And that's not taking anything away from Lukaku. He's got us 6 points. I said this at the start of the week. You can slag Lukaku off as much as you want. He has got the first touch of a trampoline, and that's not in question. But we needed him this week, and he stepped up to the plate and he got 4 goals. And we got 6 points from 2 games with an injury crisis, and a lot of that's down to him. But would you have him as your first choice striker? Not in a million years. Do you think Lukaku's happy to just be a bit part player at United? I don't think so. So I think he'll be moving on. I think he will be moving on. And if he is going to move on, the player of the quality of Icardi would be absolutely fantastic. And it's great to see in the live comments, there's a lot of people saying no, they wouldn't do it. I mean, it amazes me because I actually understand what football's all about. And I know that in the modern day striker, you need somebody. The days of Darren Bent and Gary Lineker are long gone. Brilliant box strikers who can get on the end of goals, and that's what Lukaku is. But those days are gone. If you're a title challenging side, your striker, like Pep has evolved Aguero. Pep was going to get rid of Aguero, but Aguero worked hard on his game to become more of a hold-up player and a part of the build-up play. And you need a striker like that in the modern day. You look at Firmino at Liverpool, you look at Harry Kane, does it very well for Spurs. You look at people like Lacazette and Aubameyang, they work on it at Arsenal, certainly at Man City. You need that striker who is brilliant in the box, but brilliant outside the box, who's part of the team. United need that, and I don't think Lukaku offers it for me, and I think Icardi could. What would happen to Rashford, says Umar Farhan? Look, Rashford should not get the number 9 spot every week. Yesterday, I gave him 6 out of 10. He's a brilliant player, and he's full of effort, but he missed a couple of sitters yesterday, and I think Rashford needs a better striker with him so that he's working with that striker to get the number 1 spot. I think that Rashford needs that. The worst thing we could do is put all our eggs in one basket with Rashford and buy a backup striker to him. I think 2 very good strikers works well, which is why it's good to have Lukaku at the moment. Shaky says that Icardi is a weasel. Give Inter Rashford for Icardi, says Kurto Janka. That won't do very well. Dybala would be a great swap, says Graham Allen, but he's not a striker. Mark, will we be doing a watch-along later for Everton versus Liverpool? No. What about Lingard if Sancho comes, says Naveen Gamer? Well, Lingard's works better centrally. I don't like Lingard on the right-hand side. I like Lingard in the central position. I think Lingard wants to play more centrally. So I think Lingard on this right-hand side is irrelevant. We're not dropping Lingard for that anyway. Lingard isn't a right-hand-sided player. Icardi is a box striker. He is not a build-up player. Clearly, you don't know the player, Mark, says Mohamed Najid. Right, mate, I've been watching Italian football for 20 years. I've been telling everybody I'd take Icardi at Manchester United for 4 years. I know a lot about Icardi. Don't listen to Mohamed. He hasn't got a bloody clue about what Icardi is as a footballer. He is not just a box player who gets on the end of goals. He's got more than a better touch than most Manchester United players, and he is part of the build-up play, and he is very tenacious in winning it back. So go and educate yourself, and maybe get yourself off FIFA. Sancho will be a very exciting signing, says Hayden Nawaz. And we should sell Lingard, says Favour. So, I'd say there's about 60% of people saying they would do the swap for Lukaku and Icardi. And there's probably about 40% saying no, which is great. I love that, because that's what the United stand's all about. It's about democracy. And I guarantee you 2 weeks ago, we would have had 90% saying get rid of Lukaku for Icardi. So I think Lukaku will leave. I don't think he suits Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's style of play. And I don't think he'll want to be a backup player, so I think it'll be a mutual agreement. Adam Morris says, my only issue, he's not proven in the Premier League. What if he is another Lukaku, says Adam Morris. Well, you always run that risk, you always do. Okay, let's talk about Joao Felix, because there's a few people getting impatient in the live comments. They clearly are very impatient this Sunday, and I don't know why. It's a Sunday, relax, Manchester United have won, we're into the top 4. I've told you we're going to talk about Joao Felix. Do you think I'm going to forget? Of course I am not, so chill out. Chillax. Joao Felix, I believe he's about 19 years of age, playing for Benfica at the moment. He's meant to be the next big thing out of Portugal, the next Ronaldo, like everybody is, like bloody Beppe was. I'm not made up on this guy, to be honest. I'm not made up on this guy, and that's not sexist. He is a man, but I'm not. 100 million. There was something I read about a £150 million quote for Joao Felix, and the centre back begins with a B. Is it Beladis or something like that? Someone in the live comments will know. But I'll come back to that Dalot question in a minute. Why you're mad? But Joao Felix is not the next Ronaldo for a start. He's not that sort of player. He's a centre attacking midfielder who can play off the right and can play off the left. He effectively, and you lot will probably be too young for this, Rui Costa. Rui Costa was a very good attacking midfielder for Portugal. He could dribble, he could score, he was strong on the ball, and he could play anywhere across that front three behind the striker. Wasn't particularly super fast, but was quite fast. I mean, effectively, what Joao Felix is to me, he's a prime Juan Mata. He's an Isco. He's a David Silva. He's that sort of a player. And yet again, I would say, this is not the sort of player that fits in with Manchester United. You would have to play him in the Pogba position. And unless we're selling Pogba, I don't see where it works. I don't think he's the sort of player we need. I think he's a good player. I think he's got the potential to be a fantastic player. And I think maybe people like Man City will be looking at him because they use that player very, very well. But we don't really use a number 10 that often, and we don't really use a number 10 that well. And then they end up playing on the wide like we have with Mata and Mkhitaryan, and you don't get the best out of them anyway because they haven't got the pace to do it. So he's a very, very good player. But he isn't the next Ronaldo. He's the next Rui Costa. He's Bernardo Silva, maybe, that sort of player. But he's not the next Ronaldo. He's a good player. I just don't think that sort of player suits Manchester United. And we've been proving that over the years. Kagawa, Mkhitaryan, Juan Mata. We just don't get the best out of that sort of player. And I certainly don't think it's the way that... I think the way Ole wants to play is 4-3-3. And I think we've learnt that when everybody's fit. It is Matic, Herrera, Pogba. It is Martial, Lingard and Rashford. And that's what he wants to do. Does Andres Pereira have the potential to become a better player than Lingard, says Kushik Kamaran? Well, look, I'm a massive fan of Andres Pereira. And the honest answer is that against Southampton yesterday when he was playing box-to-box, he wasn't very effective. We put him into the number 10 position and... he had about 20 minutes there after Sanchez went off and then he got subbed. But in that 20 minutes, he scored an absolute cracking goal, and everybody in the ground was ready to shout, go mad at him because they were like, why didn't you give it to Shaw? And then he turns on his right foot and scores the sort of goal people know he can do. Then he had a part in the second goal as well. He's a number 10. Andres Pereira is a number 10 or a more attacking player. He's not a box-to-box player. Will he stay at Manchester United? Has he got the potential to be really good? I think Andres Pereira would get better and better if we played him every week. But can we play him every week? Have we got the luxury to do that? But he was fantastic yesterday. Absolutely fantastic. And just very quickly on Dalot. Dalot is not a right winger. A lot of people are saying, can we play Dalot as a right winger? He's a right back. Just play him at right back. Ashley Young is finished. He is terrible. Just play Dalot at right back. And then you get Dalot doing what Luke Shaw does, bombing up and down. He's not a right winger. He's a right back. Just play him at right back. I don't get where people are going, should we use Dalot as a right winger? No, use him as a bloody right back because he's got the energy to go back and forth and back and forth. Sell Mata and use Pereira as a 10, says Kariti Janga. Would love Ruben Neves at United. Please, Mark, discuss. He's a very good player, Ruben Neves. I mean, that's a good point because Joao Felix is also a client of George Mendes, the agent, who is also Mourinho's agent and David De Gea's agent. And you'll know, I've mentioned this a few times, we haven't signed a client of George Mendes for years. There is an issue between Manchester United and George Mendes. So I don't think we'd be in for Felix anyway because of that. But and I think that may be an issue as to how we get Ruben Neves, who I think probably will go to Liverpool. Pereira's our future, says Kev Beacon. Look, I've been a massive fan of Andres Pereira for a long time. Admittedly, over the last few months, I have felt that he would leave United because it's almost like he's missed the boat. He's not grabbed the opportunity. But yesterday, that was a real stand-up moment for him. And it's about surely he'll play against PSG. We'll be previewing that tomorrow. How we put an 11 a game together for that and a midfield, I don't know, but you would expect Pereira to play, and then it's a couple of games in a row, and this is what Pereira needs. He's a very good player, very good player. Another brace against PSG would be fantastic for Lukaku. Deepak, I would agree, and Wan-Bissaka to replace Valencia, says Matteo S. Be a very good signing. You know what I just want to say though, Timothy Fosu-Mensah. There's talk of Fosu-Mensah going to Ajax. Is anyone like me and just thinks, can we just not get him back to Manchester United and give Ollie the last couple of months of the season with him? Because I still think Scott McTominay is a championship player. Watching him yesterday, I still think he is a championship player. I don't think he's even a Premier League player. But Ollie is getting so much out of him. And I just think, I'd love to see Fosu-Mensah just have the last 2 or 3 months of the season under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, before he goes to Ajax, and just see if there is anything there we can pull out of him. Because I, for a long time, thought Fosu-Mensah was going to be like the next sort of big, CDM, one of the best. And it's because he's so energetic, he's so tenacious, and it just hasn't worked out. And I just wonder if we got him back to Manchester United now, especially with all this injury crisis we'd had, could Ollie have got the real potential out of him? And I don't think we're going to see that because I think he is going to stay at Fulham until the end of the season, and then he'll go to Ajax in the summer. But it's a shame with Fosu-Mensah, and I really would like to have seen him under Ollie just to see what we could have got out of him. I really, really do. Do I like Trippier, says Darren McCaffrey? I think Trippier's too old, and I think he's too unreliable, to be honest. I wouldn't want him at Manchester United. I think he's a Man City fan as well. We can do better than McTominay, says Carmichael. Look, McTominay's doing a good job, and a lot of people like what he's done. And similarly to Lukaku, you can't knock him because we've got nobody else, and they've stepped up to the plate. But I thought he had a terrible game yesterday. Absolutely terrible. Why should we keep Fosu, Mark, while we can buy a real CDM in the summer, says Cameron Hall? Well, you didn't listen to what I said, Cameron. What I said is I'd like to get Fosu-Mensah in now for the last 2 months of the season and see what Ollie can do with him. It's not going to happen, is it? And I agree with you. In the summer, you go and buy a proper CDM, but I just wish we still had Fosu-Mensah now at the club just to see. Because what Ollie's doing with the likes of McTominay, imagine what he could do with Fosu-Mensah, who I think is the better raw talent. Twan Seaby is a great talent, but I think he'll probably be on loan again next season, Lewis, if I'm in all honesty. Yeah, I really do. Please do smash a like on the video, everybody. Anyway, let me just quickly go back to Football Index. Link in the video description. You've got to be over 18 if you want to play. Gamble responsibly, of course. My portfolio at the moment is doing fantastically well. I'm up to £200 profit, as you can see there, in 2 months. There are forums for Football Index. There are Twitter accounts that you can follow. There's some people making massive amounts of money on it. They basically have been, thousands and thousands of pounds. They put a lot of money into it, and they treat it as a stock exchange sort of thing, and they build their money up that way. I'm not going to put thousands of pounds in it. I've put a little bit into it. I think you've got to go in with a minimum of 20 quid. I would always say that, because if you look at the price of the shares, well, if you want shares in Paul Pogba, they're currently trading at £21.82 a share. So, look, I've got Mason Greenwood. I've got a lot of United players in there. I've got some of the obvious ones in there. The top 200 players are in there. Declan Rice is doing well at the moment. Grealish, obviously, I think if he moved into the Premier League, his price would shoot up. So it's a stock exchange for real play. Not a stock exchange. You can buy shares in real players effectively, like Van Dijk's. There's loads of stuff you can do on it. The link's in the video description. But the reason I wanted just to have a quick look at it there was because I just wanted to have a quick look at Mason Greenwood. I bought him at £2.76 a share. He's up to £6.12 a share. I've got 10 shares in him. I'm just going to buy myself another 10 because this guy is definitely, confirm, going to be. He's more of a long-term one for me, but he is definitely going to be a star. And when you've got people like Jadon Sancho currently trading at £15 a share, as soon as he goes in the United first team, his price is going to go up. And he for me, is the one to get on. If you're going to get a United player, he's the one to get on. I mean, Lukaku potentially. With Lukaku, let's have a quick look. But I don't think Lukaku's going to be here long-term. And Italian players, their price... Premier League players are what you want, the up-and-coming Premier League players, because that's where you see the most growth. But $4.79 a share for Lukaku's not bad if he's going to keep playing over the next few weeks. And let's just have a look at him over the last 3 months. Yeah, so he's on his way back up again after dropping. But link in the video description for that. Give it a go. And I didn't show everybody that there anyway, so mistake by me, idiot. Right. Thanks everyone for watching. We are back live tonight at 8 o'clock. It's Sunday Night Live, our flagship show. Really loads to talk about. Already got a few topics. You might want to get a few topics in the comments below if you're not watching live. We'll be talking about Alexis Sanchez. We'll be talking about Romelu Lukaku, the PSG game, the big week ahead, back into fourth. Can we get third? 6 points from 2 games with an injury crisis. Absolutely amazing from Ollie. Positivity around Manchester United. But we've got to keep this positivity going. We've got to keep this positivity going. For me, Jadon Sancho, Koulibaly, and Dembele bring on the title next year. Well, the title challenge. That's it. I don't even care who goes out the door. Jadon Sancho, Dembele, Koulibaly, centre-back, CDM, right winger. We'll have a title challenge next year. And if we buy more than those 3, great. But that is what we need to do. That is what we need to do. Link in the video description for Football Index. I'll see you all at 8 o'clock. Thanks for watching.